Hello and welcome to the St. Louis Wind Symphony podcast. My name is Matt McKeever.
And I'm Lisa McMahon.
And we're both members of the St. Louis Wind Symphony. In this podcast, Lisa and I will highlight, discuss, and listen to pieces that will be featured on upcoming Wind Symphony concerts.
Established in 1998, the St. Louis Wind Symphony is a nonprofit, all-volunteer concert band dedicated to preserving and performing quality wind band music, supporting music education, and commissioning new works.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the St. Louis Wind Symphony podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Wind Symphony podcast. It's been a little while. I'm one of your hosts, Lisa McMahon.
I'm Matt McKeever. Good to be back.
And we wanted to talk a little bit about the next concert that we have because it is one of our favorites. But we did want to talk a little bit about why it's been a while since we've done one of these. Matt, what have you been up to?
Well, my wife and I had a baby. He's 9 months now. And I've also been going through a career change, so it's been kind of a busy last couple of months. We started the Wind Symphony season back in, October?
Yeah.
October, November.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple concerts. We just haven't really had a chance to cover any of them. So we are excited to cover this one, though, because it is one of our favorites.
You could have just stopped it. I have baby.
That's enough.
Good thing they're cute, right? Good thing
Right.
they're cute. For me, I started grad school again because I despise free time, apparently. Mm-hmm. And I'm also getting married. So, combine that with teaching and a full playing schedule. We've been a little bit busy, but we're glad to be back talking some concert band, especially for this next concert, which is one of our favorites. This next concert that we have coming up, it's on Sunday, March 19th. It's 3:00 p.m. at the 560 Music Center on the campus of Washington University. It's one of our favorites because it's the Wind Symphony, but it's also our youth ensemble, which is made up of youth, obviously, up to some young college-age students. And it's a cool ensemble that we started 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
Something like that. It's been, we've done it probably about 5 or 6 years. But yeah, it's a mix of high school students and college students, and it's by audition. I think one of the prerequisites for high schoolers is you had to have either major district band or something like that, or I can't remember the exact qualifications of it.
It's not your third chair random person that just shows up and does band for a social thing.
Yeah,
you've got to be a player to actually be in it, which is what makes it a quality ensemble, which is pretty cool.
Right, so it's made up of really good young musicians, and they always play some pretty challenging music. I know when I was teaching the high school level, I always encouraged kids to take part, and had a number of students who did it. And it's kids from all over the greater St. Louis area. They usually get a pretty wide range of students from different areas, so it's cool to see. It's sort of an honor band setting, but they, like an honor band, they only rehearse, I think, maybe 4 times. And then they do this concert. So it's a mix of kids from all over the greater St. Louis area, and probably some kids from Illinois, too, I would imagine.
Yep, I know some college students from Illinois participate in it as well. It's one of our favorite concerts. So we're going to talk a little bit about what they're playing, and then also what the Wind Symphony is playing, and then other things that we have going on with the Wind Symphony. Let's start with the youth ensemble. It is conducted by Gary Brandis, who is our associate music conductor, and then also Andy Messerly. He's the co-conductor of this group. Let me get my list. I have a full list of what they're playing up, and we're going to actually talk about a couple of these, and I know Matt's got an example of an excerpt of one of them. Mm-hmm. So here's what we got, and I don't think this is in order. The list that I have, I don't believe it's in order. So we have AO, and I'm going to apologize if we completely butcher the pronunciations of these names. AO is by Kathaj Copley. Fanfare Generation Next is by Zachary Cairns. New, and that was a hard one to Google, because if you just type in New Aaron Mencher, right, like what comes up?
Like new piece.
But the piece is called New, and it's by Aaron Mencher, and then A Solemn Message is by Franklin Hansen. Mm-hmm. So we do have a guest conductor for this concert. The theme for this concert, all of our concerts have themes. The theme for this whole concert is Generation Next. So to kind of go along with that next generation idea, we do have a guest conductor, is Sophie Browning from Clayton School District. She's going to be working with the youth ensemble. We're really excited about all of that. Mm-hmm. Matt, do you want to talk a little bit about Fanfare Generation Next?
Sure. So that piece, we actually, when I was teaching at Forgenwalt South, we did that piece. We performed that piece. And we had sort of built a relationship with Zach Cairns. Zach teaches music theory and composition, I believe, at UMSL. And I had just by happenstance saw a post of his on Facebook. This was probably 2018 or 2019. And he had mentioned, like, I'm a composer, I work at UMSL, and I have a bunch of music that I would love to be performed, and it's totally free. And I said, I really like the free part, but I also like the idea.
Free is good. Free is good.
But I also like the idea of a local composer, you know. And I always think it's so neat when kids can meet the person who wrote a piece of music that they played. So I contacted Zach, and we played a piece of his. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name. It's something within. It has sort of a fairy tale vibe to it, but gosh, I'm forgetting the name. But we did that piece with our symphonic band, and Zach came in and worked with the band, and it was great, and we got a good recording of it for him. And then we wanted to do another piece of his, so he had offered this fanfare Generation Next, which is short, exciting, high energy fanfare. And so we performed that as well, and it's a really great piece. And we've actually done another Zachary Cairns piece with the Wind Symphony. I think it was called Refracted Moonlight or Refracted something. It was based on Moonlight Sonata, and that was a really neat piece as well. So Zach has written a bunch of great pieces, many of them published. So I'm excited to continue to play his music and have the youth ensemble play some of his music. So this fanfare is a really, really neat piece, very fun to play. And
Generation Next. It's the theme of the whole concert, right?
Yes. Yeah. So one of the cool things about this piece is that it was written in honor of a retiring band director. This was at Camp Hill Senior High School. I'm not sure where that's at. But the director's name was Mr. Dean Zirkel, first name Dean, Dean. So in order to honor Dean, Zach put in the music, the main theme that you hear at the beginning is made up of the notes D, E, A, and then for N, there's obviously no musical note named N, are called N. So he used N to signify a neighboring tone, which is a note that's next to another note.
That's clever. That's clever.
So he goes from D, E, A, and then he goes down a half step to G sharp, I believe, which is a neighboring tone to A. So it's D, E, A, G sharp is the little theme that you'll hear at the beginning, and we'll play that for you here in just a second.
Matt, you love it. You love a good musical code.
I do.
You love an Easter egg big time.
I do. I wrote a piece that had a little Easter egg in it that the youth ensemble actually did last year. So it's fun when composers kind of throw that stuff in there, sort of as a wink and a nod. So let's listen to a little bit of Fanfare Generation Next by Zachary Cairns. So we just listened to Fanfare Generation Next by Zachary Cairns, a local composer, and that's one of the 4 pieces that will be performed by the St. Louis Wind Symphony Youth Ensemble. So Lisa's going to talk about another piece that they are performing.
This one's pretty cool. And again, I have to apologize to the composer because I completely butchered their name earlier. So it's Kataj Copley. It's Katahj Copley. So I believe it's Kataj. So my apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name. But I'm going to read a little bit of the program notes because it really just kind of tells you everything you need to know about this piece. Just starts off with salutations, greetings, hello, hi, hey, yo, ayo. These terms, along with countless others, have been used to greet people throughout history. However, the term ayo is different. Rooted from hip-hop and jazz culture, ayo is built in the black language. It's used to tell when something is right, when something is wrong, when something is awesome, and when something is too sweet for words. Its use is seen with your closest people, your family, or people who know you best. It's personal. In short, ayo is a personal embrace that can represent life. Kind of like aloha, right?
Uh-huh,
like
right.
Aloha means hello, goodbye, let's grab a Coke.
Yeah.
So this is pretty cool. I know that Andy Messerly, who is one of the co-conductors of the youth ensemble, Matt and I, we were talking about this earlier. You know, he really kind of digs in and picks some far out stuff deep cuts, if you will. And this piece is no exception. Andy really just tries to find the things that are left of center and are not the same things that you'd hear at every single band festival. Right. And that's so important for our kids right now. You can find things all over the place about the whole suites, but that's not what's being written here and now. So I think it's super important that he's finding things by young composers, things that are being published right now. And AO is no exception to that.
Right. I think we actually... Well, I heard the piece for the first time today. We were listening to it to get a vibe for these pieces. And I noticed that it was performed by O'Fallon Township High School at the Midwest Clinic this year. So I know
St. Louis adjacent.
Yeah. So I know Andy was there, so maybe that's where he heard it. But it's a really neat sounding piece. I think the notes mention that it has elements of hip hop and jazz, and you can actually hear that a little bit in for me, I could hear some of the hip hop influences in the percussion parts, like the hi-hat parts kind of sound almost like a hip hop hi-hat rhythm. So, but it's a really cool piece. I like it a lot. I think the youth ensemble is really going to enjoy it, and I commend Andy for finding such a cool piece. So,
can we listen to it?
Yeah, let's listen to a little bit of AO by Kataj. I'm sorry, I forgot the last name.
Kataj Copley.
Copley. All right,
here's
AO.
Ayo. That was fun.
Fun piece.
One of the things that the board has been working on right now is just the refining and development of our scholarship program that we have. I'm going to read a little blurb from the Wind Symphony website, and I believe this is in either the beginning or either the intro or the outro of our podcast too. But it reads that the St. Louis Wind Symphony is dedicated to preserving and performing quality wind band music, supporting music education, and commissioning new works. And part of our supporting music education piece is that we do offer scholarships for up and coming musicians. Now, we kind of are transitioning that to be 2 members of our youth ensemble. And Mr. Gary Brandis and I just got done with some of the requirements and some of the, here's what we're looking for and here's the amounts and that sort of thing. But we're really lucky to be in a financial position that we can offer these scholarships. Now that's a separate fund than our operating costs, because we do still have to rent rehearsal halls and we have to rent performance spaces and that sort of thing. So I'm not going to sit here and say that we are doing just fine, but we're very fortunate that we've got a pretty healthy start on a scholarship fund for our Wind Symphony, our youth ensemble members. So we're excited to be able to offer that kind of in a new sort of cleaned up format. So I know information is going to go out to students that are in that ensemble soon. It's a good way to incorporate our mission to support music education at the same time. So kind of a cool thing that we're able to do.
Absolutely.
Shall we talk about what the big kids are playing?
Yeah, I can read off the list of what we got here. So we're going to be doing, and again, I'm not certain these are in order, but we're going to be playing 4 pieces. Normally the Wind Symphony would play more pieces, but since we have the youth ensemble and the concert, we sort of split time. So we're doing Aurora Borealis by Rosanna Galante, Noisy Wheels of Joy by Eric Whitaker. We're doing a premiere performance of a piece called Challenge and Perseverance March, which is by local composer Victor Baruzzini. Apologies for the mispronunciation if it is mispronounced. And then finally, a piece by Carl Holmquist entitled Play. So we're going to talk about the Whitaker piece and the Holmquist piece, because those are the ones I think we're most familiar with.
So Noisy Wheels of Joy, Eric Whitaker. Everyone loves a good cluster chord, right? Noisy Wheels of Joy is one of his earlier works, and it was originally written for orchestra. This was one of his first explorations into taking the same piece that he wrote and then altering the instrumentation for concert band. Now, I believe that errata has been corrected in later publications, but the very first time I played Noisy Wheels of Joy was during my undergrad in the early 2000s. It was a brand new piece of music. It was just, I knew Eric Whitacre mostly as a choral composer. But this was passed out in one of the ensembles I was in. I was just like, what is this? And it was interesting because at that time, I don't know if it was just music editing or what, but what was actually published had really impossible ranges for some instruments. So it was obvious that Eric Whitacre would have just like cut and pasted something from the orchestral and plopped it into a concert band score. And I don't know if it was that didn't know or if it was a mistake or whatever. But for example, the euphonium part had ridiculous ranges, several ledger lines above and below the staff, well beyond what is an actual accepted range of the instrument. Mm-hmm. Now, like I said, I believe it's been corrected in subsequent editions, but I just remember when they passed it out, there were all sorts of mistakes on there. It's just like, whoa, this is a published composer. What's going on here? Yeah. It's a really fun piece of music. It's called Noisy Wheels of Joy. It does use quite a bit of piano. This is kind of about the time when piano was starting to be a regularly included instrument in the wind ensemble. Mm-hmm. There were always novelty pieces that had it, but this is kind of the dawn of when that sort of became the norm for grades 4, 5, and 6 literature. So we're going to listen to a little bit of this somewhat insane piece. Would you call it a fanfare? It's not really a fanfare.
It's short. And it's fast, so but I don't know. It's hard to say. I wouldn't necessarily call it a fanfare. I think it's just
quirky. It's a weird little piece of music.
It's really got some wild. Just having listened to it, I think I heard it a while back, but re-listening to it today, I'm like, wow, those clarinet parts are wild. The clarinets are really up there, so it'll be fun for our clarinet section. So yeah, let's listen to a little bit of Eric Whitacre's Noisy Wheels of Joy. And that was Noisy Wheels of Joy by Eric Whitacre.
Indeed joyous.
Yes, very exciting. It's going to be a whole lot of fun to play. And then the other piece we wanted to cover for the Wind Symphony is a piece called Play by Carl Holmquist. And Lisa was telling me that this is actually a movement from a larger piece that was adapted for concert band.
Yeah, so this was originally written as a symphony. This is part of a symphony that was written for orchestra, and it's actually a symphony that talks about different areas of New Orleans, one of my favorite places in the entire world. For example, I believe the first movement talks about Jackson Square, and it talks about just different sights and sounds that are both tourist related, but also just important to the people that live in New Orleans, specifically in the French Quarter. So it definitely has a huge Cajun influence and just playful. I believe even in the title, isn't it play exclamation mark?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How do you say that in audio form? Play!
Yeah.
But I think it's the second movement. The final part of the second movement says whatever it needs to say, but then the clarinet solo coming out of that particular movement all the way to the end of that movement is what play is derived from for concert band. Mm-hmm. I'm going to read a little bit of the program notes from November of 2018 for Play. This is a work that seeks to capture the essence of the word play, both as a noun and a verb. Play, as a noun, is a state of being that blends joy, excitement, and innocence. It comes so naturally to young children, but becomes a bit elusive as the years go by. As a verb, play is an action that is completely free and whimsical, and yet at the same time, it is a 100% serious outpouring of heart, soul, and imagination. When you play, you hold nothing back.
This feels like a marching band show title. It's like just vague enough that you can interpret whatever you want, but maybe that was sounds like that was the composer's intent, was like you can
interpret this however you want it to be.
Just take the word and go with it.
Yeah. Awesome. It is flavored with a lot of Cajun rhythms and Creole sounds and that sort of thing. But it's weirdly simplistic in that you've really only got an interplay of a few notes that kind of round out the melody.
Right. It almost sounds, it's got kind of a swing feel throughout, and it's very syncopated. It almost sounds like a like a kid's little rhyme sort of, or a kid's song. I mean, maybe that was the point, but it has a very like youthful kind of sound to it. And
that youthful exuberance, you find that in any New Orleans brass band that is second lining all over the city, and so there's that sort of youthful energy that he's trying to capture in a traditional concert band work, which is always kind of a challenge. Right? How do you make concert band swing not awful?
Yeah, it's got a different sound. Our wind ensemble did it a couple of years ago, and like right from
high school, your high school wind
high
ensemble,
school, yeah. And right from the very beginning of the piece, when you hear just the clarinet playing, you're like, oh, this has a really different feel than anything I've heard before. So it's a very unique piece. Has a really different feel. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play. I'm very excited to get to perform it. I remember hearing it and going, this would be really fun to play. So let's listen to a little bit of Carl Holmquist's Play.
All right, so that was Play. That was one of the pieces that the Wind Symphony is going to be doing. I want to talk a little bit about another event that is coming up, not just for the Wind Symphony, but for nonprofits all over the St. Louis area, and it's called Give STL Day. Give STL Day is Friday, May 10th, and it's a local movement to support nonprofits. And the whole idea is there are so many nonprofits doing so many good things in the greater St. Louis area, and there's a designated day for you to go support them and to donate. Now, obviously, we would love it if you would consider a donation to the St. Louis Wind Symphony, but it does include nonprofits that are doing community service work, that are doing outreach work, that are doing just all manner of good things. And of course, you can check out givestlday.com to check out some of those organizations. I'm sure we're going to have stuff on our website, which is stlwindsim.org. You're also going to see all sorts of promo posts and things about it. We would really appreciate your support on that. Because like we said before, our scholarship situation is pretty good, but we do want to make sure that we have all that we need to continue to be able to bring live local performances to the greater St. Louis area. So shameless plug.
Right.
Got to do your shameless plug, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always try to remember that, St. Louis is kind of this thriving music scene, but it's about more than just the blues or jazz or whatever you want to talk about that's associated with St. Louis. We have music of all different types, and we really challenge folks or encourage folks to come out and hear concert band music. It's unlike anything you've ever heard. Some people tend to think, oh, well, I've been to the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. Well, this is a little bit different.
Different.
You're hearing concert band music, which is really a beautiful sound, and you're hearing music by local composers. You're hearing music that was commissioned specifically for the Wind Symphony. So you're hearing premiere performances. At our last concert, we had two guest soloists, world-class professional level musicians performing with us. So we're really trying to bring some interesting things to every concert, something new and unique that you've never heard before. So if you've never been to a Wind Symphony concert, or you have a friend or family member who's never been, encourage them to come out and check it out, because we're really doing some exciting stuff this season, and going forward, hopefully we'll continue bringing you new and exciting things.
Based, of course, on your generous donations.
Yes, of course.
All right, so our next concert is on Sunday, March 19th, 3 o'clock p.m. That's at the 560 Music Center on the campus of Washington University, and it does feature the St. Louis Wind Symphony along with our youth ensemble. We're really excited to be back playing to some gasp of normalcy, would you say?
Yes.
This has felt as close to normal as possible.
It's been pretty normal, yeah.
And I do have to say that coming out of pandemic, the band is playing better than ever. They just sound great. It's really gelling, and it's fun to be back.
Yeah, and we're actually once we're done recording here, we're heading to rehearsal for our first rehearsal of this round of music. So it's going to be fun.
All right, are you ready to go play?
I'm ready to go play, and I'm ready to go say "Ayo" to
Ayo.
everybody in the band. So.
All right, thanks for tuning in and listening to us, and we'll see you on the 19th.